Show you some of the practical ways we use dowsing around the house. Now, the type of dowsing that I do uses 3 different fields. Most people just use 2. They'll use rods, and it will send out a horizontal tracking field, and what they're looking for is the vertical marker field for whatever they're after. And the marker fields are quite interesting in the fact that they're very strange. It's almost as if the human spirit can like go into the ground if you're looking for water, and will send up a marker that identifies as water, and then the tracking fields from the rods, or if you're using a willow branch or whatever, will go after that marker field, which goes vertical. But the interesting thing about the marker fields is they go up and down from the source of what you're after. And in a different video, I was sharing about how I had a problem with the electricity in the ceiling here because the wire had lost power going out to the motion detector. And so what I did, and how I do my tracking, is instead of using a rod, I will just use my hand to send out the tracking field. And by concentrating on what it is that I'm after, particularly with elements, my hand will send out a field, and it has a negative ion charge to it. Now, because I tend to keep my body charged up with negative ions, when I hold the pendulum and it gets into that field that's coming off my hand, it will swing counterclockwise, which to me is, it doesn't want it, negative. So it detects the field that's coming off my hand. So what I did is I was going for copper, so I put my hand out and I took the pendulum and I followed the field, and the field was going out and it stopped right here, which means it hit copper, but the copper was a marker field that was coming down from the copper line. And so what I did is I kept tracking it with my pendulum. Now let's see if I can pick it up here. We're going for copper. Right there, it's in the marker field. And I followed it. See, it stops swinging when I get out of it. And the marker field is coming, they're vertical fields. And see, I didn't know which one of these the power went to. And right here it stops. And it turns out the power was up there. So I went up there and found where the wire had come disconnected. So that saved me a bit of a headache. And now, let me take you outside for a moment. I want to show you some practical outside dowsings. A little logistical here. We'll put your shoes on. We'll go outside. Here we have this nice, beautiful yard. We've had this for 30 years. Oh, by the way, there's a little on the side here. Bird feeders. I love to feed the birds. They also entertain my cats. To keep the squirrels off, I put these slinkies on it. And as long as the slinkies are high enough, the squirrels will climb. They'll grab the slinky and it'll drop them down to the bottom and they'll jump off. But just this last week, we got one squirrel that I don't know if he's jumping from the tree or some squirrels will actually push the slinky up as they climb. They'll push it with their nose and then climb around it. And that's possibly what he's doing, but I've got some of the rims of squirrel, what do you call them? They're like an upside down funnel, but I'm going to put them back on there. They're ugly, but we finally got a Houdini squirrel that figured out how to get around them. But that worked for many years, just a slinky. But here for dowsing, we wanted to put in these apple trees. And we didn't have any problem plugging that one in, but this one was going to be a problem because coming through the woods here, there's fiber optic lines, there's phone lines, there's computer lines, there's all kinds of lines that come in through here, and didn't know where they were, and we didn't want to dig into them when we planted the tree, and we didn't want the tree's roots to be disturbing them. So I did the same thing. Sent out a tracking field for copper, and what I got was, let's see if I can find it. Right there is the copper. That's where the copper line is. So when we were putting the tree in, I had to move it over to stay away from the copper line. And we even remove this cord there. There's even another one out here. So when I put that tree in, I had to find out where the copper lines were in order to know where to put it in. Now, let me take you around the back. Yeah, it's a nice day to go for a walk. I also have underground sprinkler, not sprinkler system, but tubing that runs. And it's pretty hard to know where it goes, but when I do I can do dowsing, and what I do is give it the command for the edge of the pipe. Now, for some reason, I can't do water. I don't pick up any reading for water. I don't pick up any reading for pipe, but I can pick up the structural difference on the edge of the pipe. I used to pick up the antimony and the barium coming off of it, but a lot of rain has come and diluted that out of the soil. So I can actually follow with the edge going for the signal of the edge of the pipe out to where it goes, because occasionally I have to dig up areas, because these over 30 years they start to leak, and there's a lot of seams and junctions, and you have got to dig them up and then tighten those up again. There you can see we've got our leaves, and one thing that we have to do every year is we have a well in the back of that shed there, and let's see, I'm going for edge of pipe, edge of pipe, edge of pipe, edge of pipe. Right there. That's the edge of the pipe. There's a water line that runs out of here, and it stands right on that spot, and it runs to the right of the central air conditioner unit. And let me go for here. There's actually underneath there, I have a shutoff valve for the exterior water line, so it runs into the house for the winter. Now let's go for edge of pipe here. There it is, right there. And what we have to do every year is we fill up these bags of leaves, and then we have to lay the bags of leaves down over that water line. Now, a conventional person would just take a string and string it from here to there and just put the bags down on top of it. But I'm not conventional, and I'm never checked to see if my line was straight. So as I'm laying the bags down, I'll just go out here and go for edge of pipe to know where the edge of the pipe is. Now, the one thing I have to be careful of is there is also what's called a bishop's mark, and that will give you, if you're going for the bishop's mark, the bishop mark will give you the depth of what the thing is. Let's see if I can find the bishop's mark out here. There it is, right there. So the bishop's mark is here, the water line is here, and that tells you the depth of it. And you can see it's not very deep, so we have to do a lot of insulating. So every year when I lay the bags down, I'm out here with my pendulum. And last year I was not that careful around this, and I actually had assumed that the water line was here. The bags are too far over there, and that part of the ground froze the water line, and I had to take 2 days to thaw the water line out, and so that was no fun. So I have to be real careful when I'm laying those bags down to make sure I get them straight where they belong. So that's some practical dowsing around the house.